Destiny 3 could actually be in development. The notion of a Destiny 3 has been a hot topic within the wider community now for a very long time, despite Bungie repeatedly stating in recent years that the third game was not on the horizon. And while many have made peace with the idea of Destiny as a franchise coming to an end with the game's upcoming expansion, The Final Shape, recent claims made by a mysterious Redditor with numbers for a name have once again added some fuel to the fire and has gotten a lot of people talking. Typically, I wouldn't pay too much attention to an anonymous Reddit post, but this one is a little spooky. This particular individual made the prediction that the Prismatic system, an all-new gameplay mechanic that will allow players to combine different subclass elements, would be introduced to the game with The Final Shape, only for Bungie to then officially show off this new feature a month later during the Final Shape developer stream. The Prismatic Subclass, available to all three classes, will allow players to combine a selection of abilities, aspects, buffs and debuffs from every light and dark subclass into one, potentially game-breaking package. Stasis meets Void, Strand meets Solar. You get the idea. The subclass will feature two energy bars. One will be fed by using light-based abilities, while the other will be fed by using dark-based abilities. Filling both bars will then allow the player to become Transcendent, a mini super ability in its own right. Becoming Transcendent will refresh both your melee and grenade, increase weapon damage and damage resistance, allow for grenades to refill your melee ability, and for your melee to refill your grenade ability. Lastly, Transcendence will allow the player to use a new grenade ability that is being added to each subclass with the Final Shape. The Reddit poster also claimed that the Prismatic subclass was originally developed with Destiny 3, allegedly known at the time as codename Payback, in mind. However, they were unsure if Destiny 3 was still being worked on at this stage. You could call this all one big lucky guess. However, it would seem that the leaker was eerily right on the money with their claims, and this little nugget of information is the only real piece of evidence to suggest that another game could exist that we have received to date. The Reddit user stated that the information regarding the Prismatic system and Destiny 3's development was provided to them by a former Bungie employee. And with the mass layoffs over at Bungie made during the later part of 2023 in mind, you could imagine that this interaction may have actually taken place. None of this chatter has so far sparked a response from Bungie though. Destiny 3 has still not been officially teased or even hinted at by the studio. You could argue that this may be due to the developers not wanting to divert attention away from the Final Shape expansion, an expansion that will see Destiny's decade-long Light and Dark saga come to an end, as well as the long-awaited and soon-to-be reboot of Bungie's Marathon franchise. That being said, Luke Smith, the executive creative director over at Bungie, has been very vocal in stating that the Final Shape is not the end of Destiny as a franchise, and that new content will be introduced to the game for the foreseeable future. So, does this mean that Destiny 2 will continue on with smaller pieces of content in the form of episodes? Or does this mean that Destiny 3 could actually be in development behind the scenes? There is an argument that Destiny 2 is still far too profitable for Bungie to abandon in favour of a new instalment, and this is a valid point, but at the same time, a new instalment doesn't mean that Destiny 2 ceases to exist either. You can still buy silver in Destiny 1's Eververse store, simply because people still play the game. Destiny 2 has evolved massively throughout its life cycle, and when you consider that none of the game's original content even exists within the game today, you could argue that Destiny 2 has already morphed into a sort of Destiny 3, or a Destiny 2.5 at very least. With this in mind, I would expect for a true Destiny 3, or whatever Bungie decides to call it, to be a very different experience to both Destiny and Destiny 2. The removal of classes as a whole, something that the new Prismatic system could potentially be a sort of testing grounds for, would be the kind of huge change in pace that I think would allow for the franchise to continue on and evolve into something fresh. The Destiny universe is seriously dense with regards to lore and potential story beats. There's still an unimaginable amount of planets and star systems intertwined within the story that we are yet to visit, as well as tons of spooky left for us to shoot at. With the Light and Dark saga coming to a close, the game has tied up a lot of loose ends and has in many ways lost its mysterious, albeit slightly confusing vibe. Back in D1, no one knew what the was going on, and it would be nice to see some of that make a resurgence in the future. Bungie's writers have created a universe that would easily allow for the franchise to move in a bunch of different directions. And the studio's apparent interest in mixing up the core gameplay mechanics could allow for a new entry in the franchise to really shake up the gameplay experience while retaining the game's signature formula and feel. And with the final shapes release just around the corner, I am quite sure that if work is being done on Destiny 3 in any capacity, we will start to see more information surface throughout this year and the next. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Do you think this is all being blown way out of proportion? Or do you believe that we could see a Destiny 3 in the future? If you enjoyed the video and you would like to support the channel, you can do so by leaving a like, by sharing, and by subscribing. Thanks guys. Good night, peace.